Welcome to another episode of Badass Banking, and today I'm with Jason Marshall, and Jason's in the Dallas area, right?
Correct.
Boy, you're at the epicenter of all things COVID. Well, I guess the whole world now is an epicenter based upon what I'm reading this morning.
No, absolutely. I'm here working from home like I do every day.
That's the story of my life. So you're the chief operating officer for a company called Yellowcard Financial. You're one of the guys I follow on Twitter. I enjoy your humor, your insight, your wit. Tell me a little about Yellowcard.
Sure. So Yellowcard's a cryptocurrency exchange focused on Africa. In many ways, one can view us as trying to build the Coinbase of Africa. But you wouldn't build it the same way, right? So we place an emphasis on accepting cash at retail, cash through mobile money networks, bank transfers, agent banking, you name it. But we're trying to provide access to cryptocurrency to people in numerous countries throughout the African continent, and then to solve some practical problems that exist on the continent using crypto.
Now, what are some of the unique challenges that Africa faces? This is something Brett King and I've talked about over probably a decade now. You know, he's always been really bullish on the mobile scene, particularly in Africa.
Sure. So it gets real practical. You know, I haven't been in crypto a tremendous amount of time. There are some great crypto evangelists, but that hasn't been my background. I came from more of a broader fintech background. I had an Uber driver the other day. I was wearing a mask. He was wearing a mask, windows open. But he was Nigerian. And I asked him if he sent money home. And of course he did. And he sent it home via a major wire transfer service. And he not only paid a lot of fees, but the exchange rate he received was 370 Naira per US dollar. Mm-hmm. Now, we have customers in Nigeria who are receiving Bitcoin. So their family in the United States has figured out how to buy Bitcoin, sending Bitcoin to them on their Yellowcard wallet, and then they're cashing it out. The exchange rate we give is roughly 470 Naira per dollar. 370, 470.
Yep, big difference.
Losing a huge percent just on the FX rate before you even talk about fees.
Yeah. And
so in the African continent, even more so in the United States, crypto is being used to solve some very practical, basic financial services needs and problems. And it's those problems and solving those problems where I've spent my career and which makes me excited.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's 100% mobile, your solution, correct? Or is there a desktop component as well?
There's desktop, but most of our volume is mobile web and mobile app.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Africa is remarkably mobile just because of the challenges of infrastructure and the way the communities interact over there. I saw you made a comment about Western Union. I had a Western Union experience the other day myself. A friend of mine's in Canada, someone I graduated high school with, and she's running into some financial challenges. So, I'm trying to help her out a little. I could not figure out an affordable way to get money to her. Mm. So I ended up sending a check, which is ghastly for me. It's, I think, one of 3 checks I wrote this year, 2 to the IRS and 1 to her. Fortunately, the 1 to her was not nearly as much as the IRS, but yeah, it's the fee. I thought that I looked at the user experience on Western Union, thought it was good. It looked really good, very simple, desktop or mobile. I was actually on desktop, but then I looked at the fees and I'm like, I don't need to pay them, and it's not a dire need for the person who's got to receive the money. I'm going to go the old-fashioned way. Question: is you're predominantly a crypto wallet, right? You're not really a crypto payment solution. Is that a fair?
Yeah. So customers load local currency onto their Yellowcard wallet. They can unload local currency, and they can buy and sell crypto with the local funds they've put on their wallet, and they can send and receive crypto.
Got it.
That's the basic functionality.
Now, any plans to bring this to the U.S. as well?
I think we have aspirations to connect our customers to the U.S.
Hmm.
But do we want to become a big American exchange? Probably not.
What
Right.
do you see as the future of crypto in the U.S. or even abroad? I mean, I know you're not a crypto guy. You didn't grow up in that environment. Either am I. I've done some experimenting with it, and it's fun. It's paid off so far, but I'm hearing more and more about it.
Yeah. Well. First, Yellowcard has crypto guys, right? So our CEO and CTO and our other leaders are passionate and have been deep into crypto for a long time, and my passion is growing every day. I just haven't been as deep. But I think a big part of the future of crypto is people won't know they're using it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, eventually we'll get to a point where there will be a segment that absolutely knows they're using it. Another segment is just solving their basic financial services needs with crypto under the hood.
Yeah. It's almost like a rails, a payment rails in many regards, out of sight, out of mind.
Right. And then, it'll just be another asset. It'll seem normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're buying crypto yourself now? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I've been buying for a long time.
Yeah.
As part of a diversification strategy.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. And that's kind of the way I'm doing it too. I'm using it as a hedge, basically. So looking at the fintech world of 2020 versus 2021, how you feeling about 2021, other than we're glad 2020 is going to be behind us in a matter of 16 days or so?
wow, this industry is full of opportunity. I mean, there's innovation coming left and right. I mean, think of the big names that we talk about now that were unheard of 5 years ago, or people were skeptical about.
Yeah, Plaid. Just think of Plaid. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I remember when Square was laughed at and mocked.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Square's got a lot of life in it. Today, I read a report on I don't know if it was Smart Money, or it was one of the, might have been the Street.com, on Encino here in the U.S. How it's kind of a favorite stock pick for 2021. But yeah, I tell everyone, I think this is probably the most exciting time I've experienced being in financial services or in financial technology. There's more happening. Do you think COVID helped propel transformation?
I think it accelerated some existing trends
Mhm.
in our industry and others.
Yeah, it didn't drive like a pivot. It just kind of pushed people over the hump. Any forecasts on FinTech 2020 or FinTech 2021? Any thoughts on who the hot players will be next year?
Well, I think Yellowcard will be one.
Yellow, nothing wrong with that.
I think a lot of the most exciting innovation isn't happening in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think for a variety of reasons. One, for a majority of our population, the basic needs are met fairly well, and there's some interesting and exciting fintechs that are trying to address those needs for the populations that aren't being met very well, and that's interesting. But the U.S., I think, also is encumbered by, our entire infrastructure and payment system, whether it's regulations or infrastructure or rails, are dominated by 5 or 6 institutions, banks and payment networks, and they have their own set of incentives. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why in Nigeria we're doing payroll today, and we can click a button and instantly send from our bank to any bank. Or in Nigeria, everybody has a bank verification number tied to a phone number registered in a centralized database.
Yep.
So that I can validate that somebody is the owner of a bank account, because I can instantly.
Yeah.
And I can't, right? And I can't do that in the US.
Yeah. That's remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah. Or in South Africa, right? Yeah. We're doing the instant payments that, or in a number of countries where I can instantly click a button and send money from a corporate bank account to someone's mobile money wallet.
Would you say the regulatory environment in Africa is a lot easier to deal with than it is here, even though it's a remarkably factioned continent?
The varies widely by country.
Okay.
Very widely. It depends on what we're doing. but they've evolved differently.
Hmm.
And they didn't, most of them have evolved recently. And so they didn't have entrenched incumbents who had their own set of incentives that might limit the progress of the basic infrastructure of the country.
Right.
Right. They didn't have that. If everyone sat together and we built the payment system in the US from go in 2021, and the leading motivation was, public policy and the benefit of society, our payment system wouldn't look like it does.
Yeah, no doubt.
It would look very different. But that's not how it works, right?
Maybe that's what we need, a total reboot.
But there's the handful of big players, large banks and payment networks would have would object.
Yeah, they would object. They would object, and I think of the lobby that would be engaged at that point. I mean, it would be.
And you see those same dynamics in Africa. There's countries where one mobile money operator has a dominant share, and they have tremendous influence.
Yeah.
In the way the whole system works, and take actions that kind of mirror what you would see in the U.S. from dominant players.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. I think this is a natural, standpoint. People have their own incentives, but I think the differences in Africa and in other countries as well, and in other areas of the world as well, is it started more recently. So they started, laying this out with newer technology, and there wasn't that dominant player, and so the public interest had a bigger say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The central banks had a bigger say. The other authorities had a bigger say.
Yeah. Wow. Question for you on Yellowcard. Now, Yellowcard's based out of Africa?
No, we're a U.S. company.
Oh, you're U.S. Okay.
CEO and CTO are in the U.S. They're in Atlanta, but we have a majority of our employees are in Africa, mm-hmm. and all of our customers.
Now, how many employees you guys have now? Roughly
74.
Wow, 74.
We've gone from 13 to 74 in 12 months.
That's incredible. And you've been there, has it been 7 or 8 months now?
Since July.
Since July, okay. Wow, time's flying. That's some remarkable growth. It's good to see it, especially in this economic environment. It's
absolutely.
It's kind of a scary environment we're in, but a lot of the fintechs I know are still hiring. My daughter's a technology recruiter. Mm-hmm. Among her clients are Capital One, and they're plugging along. They're still looking for talent. There's actually a shortage of technology talent out there in some of the industries she's working with.
Oh, absolutely. That's our biggest challenge.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting. We'll have to keep an eye on what Yellowcard's up to. Crypto again it's not my foray, but I'm going to keep a closer eye on some of the technology that's behind it and see where it goes. I'm pretty bullish on it overall. I think 2021 is going to be another exciting year for fintech. I just hope we come out of this this pandemic situation we're in. I want to get back to some handshaking, and there's some people I owe some hugs to. So it's like, I feel very isolated.
I think people get. I think there's different ways to view crypto, because there's an audience that views crypto with a religious zeal, and actually have a lot of respect for them, because they're passionate and their vision is so big, and they're right, mm-hmm. on the long time frame. But for people who have kind of our background, if you think about the problems we're trying to solve, very simple problems, like how do I pay an overseas supplier who won't accept my currency? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do I move money from a subsidiary in one country to the home office? Yeah. How do I receive and send cross-border remittances, right? How do I protect myself against a currency that loses 30% of value in a month, right? These are very pragmatic problems that people in financial services and financial technology have been solving for a long time, or trying to.
Right.
And so if, crypto can be a religion because the vision is so giant, but it also could be a tool to solve some of the same types of problems that we've all wanted to solve. And the opportunity in Africa is that we're not alone. There's other great companies, including a lot of great African companies, who are trying to solve these same problems there. But it's so early days, and there's a lot of white space, right? There's a lot of opportunity to do something that has a dramatic improvement for the customer at an early stage. There's not a big giant incumbent holding you back. the capital needs to get there are reasonable if you have access to, the capital markets like we do. And that's what's exciting about it. So if I would encourage anyone who's in more of a traditional banking background to think of, if you think of crypto not as the religion, but as the tool, and then it becomes much more approachable, and then you can start getting around it. You don't have to know the details of how a blockchain works.
Right.
That if you, just like you may not know, unfortunately I kind of do, the details of how the ACH system works.
Yeah, I know that. I know a little of that as well, and what we know is frightening.
It is frightening, but what really matters is what we put on top of it.
Yeah.
And how we utilize that infrastructure. And so what Yellowcard is really excited about is what can we keep putting on top of it.
Right.
And then there's just tremendous opportunities to layer things on top of it. There's people building incredible tools on top of it. Now they'll use words like they'll use DeFi and some other very crypto-centric terms. Mm-hmm. But if you say what problem you're solving, they'll say, oh, I have a new way for people to have a savings account or a pseudo savings account. That you can wrap your head around. Yeah. Right. You may not exactly understand the A to B of how they reconfigured the whole financial infrastructure to produce it, but we don't always. All of us don't need to understand that to know how to apply it.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And I have a lot of people that say, "Oh, I think crypto and blockchain's kind of a fad." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's not. It's solving a real world challenge or many challenges." There's a platformification component to it that is going to have a very long-term yield.
It is, and it's not the most user-friendly for average Joe.
Right.
And I've been really impressed by how, despite the UI challenges of it, right? There's a little complexity to it. We try to reduce it, but it's still more complex than we'd like. That the adoption in different parts of Africa is just shocking, because when people are pressed, if you have a solution that saves them money and time, a portion of them will figure it out.
Yeah.
If the value is great enough.
Yeah.
If you're a supplier in Africa, if you have a small business in Africa and you have to pay a Chinese supplier and they won't accept your currency because it's just not very liquid.
That's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge. Now, you've been using dollars, but there's a shortage of dollars in a number of countries. They can't get the dollars.
Right.
They literally can't put their hands on a dollar bill and pay a supplier. So what do? You figure it out.
Yep.
And if the Chinese suppliers will accept crypto, either a stable coin tied to the US dollar or Bitcoin, you'll figure out how to buy it.
And increasingly those suppliers are accepting it.
Absolutely, especially in Asia.
Yeah. Now, are they expecting it or are they actually desire it? Is it becoming a preference?
I think the dollar is simpler if I can hand someone $100 bill.
Yeah.
But it's not available.
Yeah.
Or it's not available at a reasonable cost.
Yeah.
There's just interesting pockets. Throughout a number of countries, we've run across car dealerships that accept crypto to buy used Toyotas. And it turns out they have a supplier in Japan who sells them used Toyotas for crypto.
Interesting. Okay.
And why?
Yeah.
It's not like these people aren't on the crypto religion. They can't tell you the details of how the blockchain works and the philosophy behind it. And they don't have a diatribe on central banking, right?
They don't care. They just know it's solving a problem.
They're just trying to exchange a used car for money.
Yeah.
For value.
Yeah.
And this solved the problem because the Japanese car exporter didn't want a Ugandan shilling. Yeah. And the Ugandan couldn't get a hold of enough dollars to make this work. And we see this, and it's not just in Uganda. I think of 4 or 5 countries I've seen this.
Yeah.
And it's not something we've looked for. It's actually coming. We're catching up to the consumer in Africa, which is really wild. Our biggest competitor is the informal market. It's not there's no Coinbase of Africa. There are just masses of people in WhatsApp groups, literally doing peer-to-peer through social networks, trying to validate each other as best they can. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, there's some really well-run peer-to-peer exchanges that are built. And there are some big companies that are similar to Coinbase, but they don't have the reach across the continent, right?
Right.
Across the continent, it's informal market. And it's like, that's really interesting because like these customers on their own have figured it out. And you know, need drives a lot of innovation.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that you guys are driving, you know, you're enabling these people to solve the problems that they need solved. So, you know, listen, these are exciting times. I mean, I wish you guys the best of luck. It sounds like you guys got a good plan. And I think it's exciting. You're the first company I've talked to that's actually focused. I know there are dozens out there that is focused on financial technology within the African market. I'm sure it's gonna blow up from there. There's a lot of opportunities. A question for you: how did these guys find you, or how did you find them?
So I've been in the industry a while, and a friend of a friend knew these college students at Auburn who were trying to create a fintech startup focused on crypto, and they were reaching out for advisors who had some knowledge in different areas of payments, and asked if I would just chat with them. Mm-hmm. And I thought not much of it. Sure, I'll talk to these young students, and you know, had regular chats. Ended up joining an unpaid advisory panel, and you know, they were successful. They got funding. Then they became profitable, and I was watching them, and we were talking. And next thing you know, I joined them.
There you go. Are they paying you in crypto, or?
We do have people paid in crypto, but I'm being paid in cash at the moment.
There you go. There you go. Well, listen, Jason, I appreciate it. I think it's exciting what you're doing. As I mentioned, you know, I enjoy the Twitter banter and your insights and stuff. And it's exciting that you're doing something that you're so enthusiastic about. And certainly there's a boatload of friction out there that's got to be reduced in our industry. And it's exciting to see crypto kind of emerge as strongly as it has. So I wish you a happy holidays, and hope you stay safe.
All right. Happy holidays. Thank you.